Hey 6th grade, this is going to be our final video in our decimals unit, so let's go on ahead and get started. Our learning goal, which you need to get in your notes, and one of these days I will stop telling you that because you'll remember to do it all on your own, is I will fluently divide decimals by whole numbers and decimals using a standard algorithm. So make sure you click pause so that you can get that in your notes. We're going to start with dividing by whole numbers, with dividing a decimal by a whole number. And there are 3 steps to this process. So I want you to get them in your notes. And after we get them all written in our notes, then we'll go on ahead and actually give it a try. So dividing decimals by whole numbers. Step 1 is set up the numbers like a regular division problem. You guys already know how to do that. Number 2, place the decimal straight up into the quotient. And then number 3, you just divide as you normally would. You may add zeros to the right if you need to. So make sure you pause several times so you can get all of this in your notes. And then I'll show you what it is you're going to do. So let's try an example of this. We're actually going to do a couple of examples. And in your homework, or at the end of your notes, you're going to do a couple of these all on your own. So let's see. Let's say we have 22.8 divided by 6. All right, so there, you've already done step 1. You just set up the numbers like a regular division problem. Number 2, place the decimal straight up into the quotient. So here's our decimal right down here. You just go straight up to where we put the answer or the quotient and put the decimal right there. Boom, that's it. Step 3 is divide as you normally would. So 6 can go into 22 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. So we subtract that. 22 minus 18 is 4. Let's bring down that 8. And 6 times what? 6 times 8 equals 48. And we come up with no remainder. There you go. You just did all 3 steps for dividing decimals by whole numbers. We're going to do another one together, just so you really, get the hang of this. Our next one is going to be 66 and 66 and 800ths. There we go. Divided by 4. So we just set up our numbers like a regular division problem. Now we have to move the decimal, see there it is, straight up into the quotient. Oh my goodness. All right, let's see here. Let's fix that. Say we should fix all of them. Oh my goodness. All right, so 4 goes into 6 one time. 6 minus 4 is 2. Bring down the 6. We have 26. 4 goes into 26. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 6, because 28 is too big, 7 times 6 is 24, so that will definitely work. 26 minus 24 is 2. Bring down the 0, and that turns into 20. 4 times 5 equals 20. And it actually works out evenly. So now I have 0. Bring down the 8. 4 goes into 8 divided by 4 is 2. So it goes in there twice. And why am I having so many issues? You guys don't realize this, but this is the 3rd time I've recorded this one video. I'm going to lose my mind. So, there's the 8. Subtract 8, and now we have 0. It's not that different from dividing with regular numbers, no decimals, all of that. There's just making sure that you move the decimal straight up in the quotient. Okay, so on with dividing decimals by decimals. This particular type of problem has 5 steps to it. You need to make sure you hit pause so that you can get all of these in your notes. A couple of them are just the same as from dividing by whole numbers, but you still need to get them. So, step 1 is set up the numbers like a regular division problem. Step 2, move the decimal point, in the divisor to create a whole number. And I'll show you all of these steps here in just a minute. Number 3, move the decimal in the dividend to the right the same number of places. Number 4, this one you already know, place the decimal straight up into the quotient. And number 5, divide as you normally would. Add zeros on the right. As needed. All right, so let's try a little bit of this to see what all that means. So, we'll get rid of that. Now, so what you're going to have to do, 6th grade, is, let's say we have 6 37/100ths divided by 1.3. So step 1, just set it up like we would in regular division problem. 6 37/100ths divided by 1.3, or 1 3/10. All right? All right, now it says that we need, for step 2, we have to move the decimal point in the divisor to create a whole number. So we move the decimal point over one place, and now we have 13 as a whole number. Step 3 says that we have to move the decimal point in the dividend to the right the same number of places. So we just have to move it over one place. So now we have 63 7/10 divided by 13. Step 4 is placing the decimal point straight up into the quotient. And now for step 5, we go right on ahead and divide just like we've been doing, since the beginning of time, it seems like. So, let's see here. 13 can go into 63 4 times, so 63 minus 52 gets us 3 minus 2 is 1, 6 minus 5 is 1. Bring down the 7. How many times does 13 go into 117? Well, it goes in there 9 times. 13 times 9 is 117. So we wind up with 0. Simple as that. All right, let's try another one together. Let's do 8 58/100ths divided by 1.2. All right, so we've already done step 1. We wrote out the division problem just like you already know how to do. Step 2, you move the decimal over in the divisor to turn the divisor into a whole number. We only had to move the decimal over one place. So we come over here to the dividend, and we move the decimal over one place. Our next step says that we put the decimal straight up into the quotient. And finally, we just go right on ahead and divide like we know how to divide. So let's say we go with 85 divided by 12. That would get me 7 for sure, because that would be 84. 5 minus 4 is 1. Nothing there. Bring down the 8, we wind up with 18. 12 can go into 18 once. 18 minus 12 is 6, but we can't have a remainder on this one. So all those times I've said something about adding a 0 to the right, that's what you're going to do. And then bring that 0 down. The 6 becomes a 60, and 12 times what equals 60? If you said 5, You got it. So 12 times 5 equals 60 minus, ooh, I didn't mean to write that small, 60, and that gets us 0. All right? Let's do one more example, just to make sure you really have the hang of this one, and then I'll give you your practice problems to do in your notes. Okay, so our last example to do together, and I've already done step 1, just wrote it right out like a regular division problem. 7 and 824 thousandths divided by 24 hundredths. So step 2, oh, for crying out loud. All right, so step 2, we have to move the decimal point over in the divisor 1, 2 places to turn the divisor into a whole number. Step 3, we go to the dividend and move it over 1, 2 places. And then we move the decimal straight up into the quotient, and now we divide. So 24 goes into 78 3 times. That gets us 72. 8 minus 2 is 6. Bring down the 2. It gets us 62. 24 times 2 is 48. So minus 48. And you're going to have to do a bit of regrouping here. Turn the 2 into a 12 because you have borrowed from the tens. 12 minus 8 is 4. And 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down that last 4. And you now have 144. So 24 times 6 equals 144. And that's it. All right, so I'm going to give you 4 problems to do in your math binder. You're going to do these ones on your own. You need to show every step of your work. 2 of them will be dividing with whole numbers, and the other 2 will be dividing decimals by decimals. All right, here are your 4 problems to do in your math binder. Number 1 is 3.6 divided by 5. Number 2 is 78 hundredths divided by 6. And down here for 3 and 4, we divide by decimals. So we have 35 divided by 2 and 2 tenths, and 8 and 4 tenths divided by 16 hundredths. Make sure you show all of your work. Make sure you bring it back to school tomorrow, and I'll see y'all in class.